20 days this time. Probably the same result if the court, it gets closer to political commentary, but if the officials still think it advocates illegal drug use, this is a one-trick pony, this Morse versus Frederick case. If it doesn't advocate illegal drug use, we don't know what the result is. And you've got these now 4 precedents on student speech, starting with Tinker, which requires some disruption in order for the school officials to shut down the speech. And then the 2 bad cases, or limiting cases, Fraser with the harmless and amusing speech that is shut down and censorship, and then Morse. It doesn't look good for student speech given that set of precedents. Somebody over here had a question?
I actually have a question about the Tinker case and how they classify what constitutes disruptive behavior. If the disruption is not inherent in the suspensions and such like court proceedings.
No, I think the question is whether the speech is disruptive. And in Tinker, they didn't say anything at all. They simply wore black armbands to school. And it didn't disrupt the class. And there were counter demonstrations and hullabaloo created by the wearing of the armbands. And most student speech probably would not be disruptive. I mean, Fraser's speech was not disruptive. The school newspaper was not disruptive. Morse's banner was not disruptive. So if Tinker were the law, that would maximize the scope of protected student speech. But the court has retreated in the following 3 cases from Tinker. And you see Justice Thomas saying, basically, I can't wait to overrule Tinker. We keep eroding it with each new case. And that's good, and that's why I concur. But if it were me, because I don't think students have any rights at all, I overrule Tinker.
How do you define what's disruptive? Because, I mean, like for example, the Army situation. I mean, there was no chaos, there was no striking school, there wasn't anything that was necessarily wrong outwardly. But how do you know the students were, internally disruptive, focusing on their classes or whatever? I don't think it worked. But it's just not hard to know what is and what isn't disruptive. I mean, you could say that the banner that got held up was disruptive in that it took away from the focus on the Olympics or focus on what it was supposed to be inside.
There wasn't any evidence that it took away from that students were riveted on the banner as opposed to the torch, and that interfered with the mission of the school. It's a real stretch. There wasn't any evidence that displaying the banner caused any disruption at all. It was just offensive to the school principal, rushed right over there and took it down. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's hard to determine what's disruptive and what's not. You look at the evidence, what the facts were.
So it says here that Frederick was unable or unable to express any other credible to the phrase. I'm just thinking, like, if he can do so, would Justice Thomas consider feel like privilege?
Well, if it was a plausible reading, if you said, this is code for, I think Deborah Morse is a wonderful principal. And there was some basis for that, other than just making up out of his head when he got in trouble. I suppose so, but he'd have to give it some plausible reading that gave it value as speech in the court's view. You don't want courts weighing whether speech is valuable or not. That's dangerous. But inevitably they do that. Some speech is low value, and gibberish is right down there. And political speech, as we'll see on Thursday in Citizens United, political speech is the most protected kind of speech. Yeah. Can't hear you. Yeah. Well, nice try. I don't know the answer to that. You're as good a judge as I am on that. I mean, the more he could explain a plausible, defensible, non-promoting drug use meaning for the banner, the more protected it is. Last Tuesday, a week ago today, the court denied certiorari in 2 student speech cases. I actually expected, I might have mentioned this, that they would take at least one of the cases. How does the precedent set by Morse and these 3 cases inform you about how these cases would be decided by the court? A girl in Pennsylvania put a photo online, I forget whether it was on her Facebook page, describing the principal of a middle school as a hairy sex addict and a pervert who liked hitting on students in his office. And the principal suspended her, 10-day suspension. The girl's parents sued him in federal court. He says, it made me out as a pedophile, so on. The American Civil Liberties Union brought the case on behalf of the girl's parents, saying, well, this was just juvenile humor that ought to be ignored. The Court of Appeals in Philadelphia said that this communication online caused no substantial disruption of the school, and the courts didn't allow schools to punish students for off-campus speech. The other case came out a different way. A girl named Kara Kowalski in West Virginia, senior in high school, invited 100 classmates to see a MySpace profile that made fun of another girl as a slut who had herpes. And the school officials called that a hate website and suspended her for violating the policy against harassing and bullying. The court threw out her First Amendment claim. She used the internet to orchestrate a targeted attack on a classmate. And the court declined to hear either of those cases. If they heard them, how would they come out? Based on what you know about the law, these cases plus Morse. This is online speech, not in school hours, not part of any school-sanctioned activity, doesn't advocate drug use.
Well, I know some states have already passed laws about that, so I'm not sure which states that was
Pennsylvania and West Virginia.
So I don't know if those states have already passed a bullying law, but I'm just assuming they should be punished. And if cyberbullying laws are meant to be for students, it should also be for anybody that has a mental. It should also apply to the
So in both cases, you would say the student loses. She's bullying the principal. Arvin?
I think that the question is more one of libel than
Well, as you'll see in a couple of weeks, nowadays, every libel case is a First Amendment case.
But for the one in Pennsylvania, it seems like that would potentially disturb the ability to witnesses who it's not political speech. I think the question becomes, is it the right of the to suspend the student for something that is an off-campus thing? I mean, it's about something
Off campus, out of school hours, on their own.
I think that's the question, and in both these cases, really, and I think that the court should probably decide on this a little serious.
Yeah, well, if it tinkers the law, you come out that way. No disruption, although the bullying case, not sure. Students' rights are not coextensive with those of adults, however, and you got to take into consideration the special circumstances of the school environment. I don't know which way that cuts. But these kinds of problems of online speech are obviously going to be hitting the court continuously until they step in and deal with that. Tina.
For the first case, I feel like it took place completely outside of school. I don't know how any of those precedents could be used to rule against the student. But for the second one, the student kind of, I think it's an interesting thing that she invited 100 other students to look at the actual file. So she's kind of bringing the school environment into it, kind of recreating the school environment in the phone, I guess you could argue. So I think you could possibly extend that and saying that inviting all these students to see this profile disrupts the girl's experience in school. That's just the one factor distinguishes between.
Yeah, may depend on how the victim of the bullying reacts. Catherine. Yeah. Well, see, it's not black and white. There's lots of gray area in all these cases, and the last words about student speech haven't been written. But I think you have to take it as a given that the government may restrict the speech of students in ways that it cannot restrict the speech of adults. And keep that in mind for Thursday when we talk about the Citizens United case, where one of the big issues in the case is whether corporations have First Amendment rights. And the court acknowledges in the Citizens United case that there are certain categories of real human beings, real persons, like students, who don't have full First Amendment rights, and yet the court says that corporations do. So on Thursday, take a good close look at the Citizens United material. We'll take that up then.